Hi, this is a tutorial for the Yorkie female dog diaper sewing pattern, and this is the start of it. This is the inner lining, and as you can see, it's longer than a sheet of paper, so I had to break it down into two sections. And you would meet them where the black lines are on both sides. You'd meet the black lines up and tape it together, and then also the side wings. And so what I did was I reinforced everything with some tape. Forgive it's a little rough. You could also transfer this to clear contact paper. If you're making more of them, you can transfer the pattern to that and cut out your parts. So you have the outer pattern here. This is for the outer fabric, the outside, with your rough hook and loop goes here, your tail hole. You have your elastic where you make your elastic pockets, and then elastic here that goes under the belly. Okay, here we have the two patterns. We have the outer fabric pattern, because on the top of the on the outer fabric, you're going to put the tabs for the hook, the rough Velcro, and on the inner lining, you're going to put the tabs on the part that goes underneath, that wraps around and up top, here and here. Then you have your inner lining, and again, we have the hole for the tail. We have where you're going to put the tabs for the loop. The soft part is going to go on the inside, the loop, hook and loop, if you will, of Velcro, the soft kind. And then you have your elastic here, where you're going to put your elastic pocket, and where you're going to sew your elastic pockets along here. Also, for my paper patterns, I love using tape. Tape is great to put all your parts together. I reinforced the skinny parts here with tape on both sides, and I added the side wing tabs that go underneath and wrap up and over. I used tape here. I used tape here. I joined the lines where the black line is on both parts. I joined the line, and then I taped on both sides. It's always good to tape on both sides too, especially with the wings here. I did it for both. And I did it over here for the outer fabric tab, because what you're going to do is you're going to sew a stitch line within the edge of these parts here for the tail, for the tabs, for the Velcro tabs. That way you know where everything goes. Same thing with the elastic pockets. You're going to sew stitch lines here, and then down here, you're going to make a little pocket. But you do that on the initial fabric, and I'll show you. Same thing for here. You're going to make a little stitch line pocket. You can cut these out if you wanted to, and make a separate pattern. You want to cut these out if it helps you when you want to make your stitch line pockets for your elastic. You could do that too. I do this to help you, and it helps me too, for when you're where to lay things. Okay, so forgive me for having vertical versus horizontal layout here with the camera, with the phone. So I have about 18-inch or half a yard, and it's folded in half. It's pretty long. It's like 58 or 59 inches. So you could probably get about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe almost 9 out of a yard of the outer fabric. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get fabric scissors, but I'm going to cut around close to like about 1 inch from the edge around. And then I'm going to iron this. And then I'm going to take the bamboo fabric I found some. I had extra. I pre-washed this. It's really important, with bamboo organic cotton fleece. You have to wash it, pre-wash it before using it. Pre-wash it with some mild detergent, no fabric softener, and then dry it in the dryer. It is going to shrink about 2 to 3 inches vertically. Notice that I cut out the inner lining. Again, you can use cotton flannel, but I used organic cotton bamboo fleece. And I cut around just enough that's extra seam allowance for around the paper pattern. And as you can see, this one has this for the inner lining because it doesn't have the cutouts for the outer fabric Velcro tabs. And it has where you're going to put the soft loop Velcro tabs on this one. So what I'm going to do after I iron it, you're going to pin all around the whole thing, everywhere. Then you're going to make a stitch line, a straight stitch line going all the way around. And also you're going to pin this in place and you're going to make a stitch line all the way around inside the circle. So this is about ½ a yard of fabric. It's folded in half, 18-inch vertically, and then 29-inch wide, but doubled. It's like 58, 59 inches wide. You can get 6 to 9 out of this. So I'm going to cut enough fabric to have a nice wide seam allowance going all the way around. And then I'm going to straight stitch, after of course I iron, straight stitch all the way around the outer edge of the pattern, like the bamboo fabric. And then I'm going to straight stitch a line inside this circle and inside this tab for the hook part of the hook and loop, the rough hook and loop. I'm going to make a straight stitch line all the way up against the edge of the paper for these 3 parts, for the tail and for the Velcro tabs. And I've used 42 pins all around, and in the center hole for the inner lining, I used about 15 going around here, then another 10 I believe, and then there was 8 going around the circle. It was about 42 pins I used, and I keep the pin heads inward and the pointy part going out. That way your machine isn't going over the pin head. And I have this lovely big box of pins that I use. And I used about 47 pins roughly to pin these down, as you can see, around this way. And then just space them in and out around. This is where there's stress points, where there's an inner curve or an outer curve. That's where I pin around. And then in the center. And then I did about 8 for the tail circle. And I did a few in where the stressor points are. That's where I pinned. And again, put the pins inside. So the machine needle doesn't go over the heads. Also, I want to let you know, this bamboo fleece, that's organic cotton bamboo fleece, it's stretchy. I'm going to show you. Oh, it's a little stretchy. It's a little stretchy. So, you have a little give. So I took some of this 2-inch wide Velcro brand hook and loop, and I used my paper patterns here to cut out. Just put them up against here, and I cut around them and make sure that the hook and loop are aligned. I just have to put my finger between them and kind of pull it out and make it nice and flat together. And then I just cut around the pattern, so you have the inner lining soft loop fabric, side wing tabs, and then you have the outer tabs that go on the front, on the outer fabric, on the side that goes near the tail hole. And with the stitch markings that you're going to make from the cutouts, you'll fit them inside and pin them inside those stitch line places. Okay, and you don't need much, because I used about, I'm going to say 4 to 5 inches tops. So really, you don't have to have, because this is 2 inches And so it was less than that. So, I mean, yeah, so maybe 4 to 5 inches tops. 5 inches tops. By 2 inch, of course. So for elastic, I'm gonna cut it about that much in length, because what you're gonna do is you're going to straight stitch and then zigzag one end to where your pocket mark is, which we'll make after we're done doing the stitch line. We'll do the pocket stitch line, and you're going to sew. You'll straight stitch across, and then you'll zigzag stitch on both ends. So you'll cut it this about here to here, but then you're going to straight stitch and zigzag stitch on both ends. So you're going to be stretching it, and you can do that on this panel, or you can do it on the inner lining, your choice. But if you stick with one, I would probably stick with doing the same for the other. So if you do it on the front fabric, on the nylon, the ripstop nylon or outer fabric, I would probably do the same thing, and just, I would probably from here to here, that way, because it's going to stretch. You want it snug, but you don't want it too tight. So I would cut it like that long, and then straight stitch and then zigzag stitch on both ends for here and for here. But first we got to do the outer straight stitch markings and the circle hole and the tab hole straight stitch markings. So I'm going to start with a straight stitch around right up against the paper edge is where you're going to do. You're going to make a straight stitch line going all the way around, and then you'll go back and do a straight stitch with this circle. And then I use Gutermann thread right here as my little cup to hold it on, and I'm using white, but you could use, this is kind of like a light cream color. I was debating on whether to use a contrasting stitch or use the red thread to show you, but for the sake of appearance, I'm going to use the white. But you could use whatever color your outer fabric is. If you want to just keep it with one cone of fabric color, you can do that. I pull the pins inward so you're not hitting the needle on the straight pins, and then when the needle's up or down, but you can lift the presser foot thing here. You can lift it to pivot and curve as you go around the curves. With the needle down and the presser foot up, you could do that, and then just work your way around. Okay, so I've stitched a straight stitch. Well, when we take the pattern off, you'll see it. So now, while the pattern is still completely pinned on, as you can see, all over the whole thing, you're going to do the straight stitch along the inner edge near the paper, and also try not to stitch into the paper. I've done it way too many times, but it's worth noticing. So I'm going to straight stitch and just pivot and pivot, with playing with your needle down and the presser foot, pivot, pivot, pivot. Sometimes my machine was going around without having to do that. So just be slow when you're doing this. Okay, so after removing all the pins, you're going to mark where your elastic pocket is going. So you go here and here and here and here. That way you know to turn here. And there's a way of doing this. You could mark it, or you could just go in about a ½ inch, because this is a 1/4 of an inch. So you may want to make a ½ inch or even bigger. That's okay. You can do that. Same thing here. I marked it here and I marked it here. So when I remove the pattern, I know, okay, I gotta go up and then make a nice curve about a ½ inch. Now, if you want to measure and mark it, you can do that. Or you can cut this piece out, or you can cut a little extra down and curve it just a little extra. If you want to make the pocket bigger, your choice. You could do that here too. You can cut in and then down and then around on the paper pattern, and then sew a stitch line in that way. Or you can make a second pattern, printouts, and then make another pattern with a cutout for the elastic. You could do that too if you want. but I'm gonna kind of wing it because I've done this before. So you'll see what I'm doing. And then later when you match the outer to the inner lining, you'll match up where you put your stitch lines, and that way you'll know, oh, that's where I sew, because you're going to be matching up. I'll show you that later. Okay, do you see the elastic box, the little stitch line that I made for the pocket for the elastic here? Okay, so I did that and then I stopped there. Do you see the little circle? It's hard with the light. I should have used contrast. I should have used the red thread, but do you see the circle stitch I made? Okay, so now I'm gonna do that here. I'm gonna go do in here, and then I'll do this one. I'll do the belly one. So here I am. I lined it where the pin was. Now, of course, you're gonna put your needle down, and then lift the presser foot so you can take the pin out, and then you're going to go straight, and you're going to stay aligned with the outer stitch line. You're going to go about 1/2 inch and then across and then down like I did the other one. Another thing you can do is you could use the edge of your presser foot as a guide and butt that up against the outer stitch line that I made to make the elastic pocket stitch line. Just another tip.